Well, first, no. First thing is that the bill literally just received, well, in the last few weeks, as you know.
Did anybody miss Justin Trudeau? Mark Carney showed up in Hamilton yesterday to reassure Canadians that everything's under control. But the moment reporters started asking real questions, reality slapped him in the face. He's achieved nothing since becoming Prime Minister, and it's clear that's not going to change anytime soon. And now we're starting to understand what confidence actually means in a Mark Carney government. All you have to do is ask a foreign state to kidnap somebody or endorse a known terrorist for citizenship. And I wish I was joking. Let's take a look.
First question, Steve. Okay. Hi, my name is Simone Gavros. I'm with CHCH News. My question is more of a local question about crime. Within the last few months, 2 random innocent bystanders were killed in 2 separate shootings. And in the latest shooting on Friday, that suspect is a 17-year-old who police are still looking for. There's also a lot of concern when it comes to repeat offenders. My question to you today is, what is your government doing to keep communities, including Hamilton, safe when it comes to gun violence?
Thank you very much for the question, and my sincere condolences for the victims of the direct victims of these crimes, their families, but also for the communities and the concern and anxiety that horrible crimes like this create.
I bet nobody in Mark Carney's, private life ever comes to him for any sort of comfort. That response, talk about missing the mark. He's trying to say to the communities and to the people that are involved in this, well, you have my sympathy. Hamilton is not the best place to live right now. Ask any of the Hamiltonians. People love the city that have lived here all their lives. The problem is the crime in the city, it is on new levels. The homelessness in this city is on new levels. You can't go to a park in the city without needing to sweep it for needles and other drug paraphernalia. And there's neighborhoods in the city that used to be crime-free. That's not the case anymore. Not anymore. Just check the community Facebook groups, and you'll just see constant posts of people where they're showing security cameras showing broad daylight thefts from cars in their driveway, people coming in their backyards looking for things. It's not a great city to live in. And your response to this is some stuttering garbage. Oh, well, that's not what Canadians need to hear right now. Canadians need leadership.
One of the things the federal government is doing, and we are making a huge emphasis on this, is to control our border better. Because I suspect, and we'll see when this individual is caught, that gun came from the United States. Vast majority of firearms, illegal firearms, firearms used in crime, come across our border. And so what we've been doing in recent months is making very large investments in controlling those borders.
Pardon me. Just hold on. I thought that all of the gun crime going on in Canada, I thought the reason why we had so much gun crime in Canada is because of legit guns from licensed firearm owners. That's what you've been trying to tell everybody. Isn't that the whole reason for this $1 billion gun buyback? That's what you've been trying to tell everybody. Well, we're going to ban all these firearms from being sold in Canada so that criminals won't get them, and therefore there won't be gun violence. That's what you've been trying to say. Now you're saying, oh, well, the reason for this is because of our borders. The reason for this is because the person, would have obtained that firearm from the United States. Well, Mark Carney, your party can't have it both ways. So you either are blaming this on law-abiding gun owners with legally and properly obtained firearms, or you're blaming it on illegal firearms coming in from the United States. Which is it? Oh, wait, we all know what the answer is. And your government already knows what the answer is because it's literally in the statistics. And you just admitted what those statistics show. The vast majority of gun crime do not involve people with licensed firearms. So therefore, you shouldn't be going after people to take their legally acquired guns and the people that are using those firearms responsibly. And the fact that this guy is saying, oh, well, the reason that this crime happened in the first place isn't because of our crappy liberal policies, it's because of the United States. Everything is the fault of the United States right now. Funny that.
Much better. We have to do more, but we're talking thousands more CBSA, Border Service Agents. We're talking drone surveillance, helicopter surveillance, working more closely with the United States on both sides of the border, both elements of the border, including addressing the scourge of fentanyl. The second aspect to your question, which your question touches on and the tragic situations touch on, is bail reform. And the importance of bail reform, particularly with respect to repeat offenders. We have commitments on that. We're working with the provinces on those issues. I'll be meeting with the premiers next week. I'm sure that's one of the elements that we will discuss, and you can expect legislation from this government in the fall.
You can expect legislation in the fall to address bail reform. But we were told in the last parliament, that the problem isn't bail. That's not the problem. But now we need bail reform. Bail reform, which, according to Larry Brock, who's had conversations with Justice Minister Sean Fraser, who's the guy who completely destroyed our immigration system, then went on to completely bury our housing market. Now he's in the justice system and he's bringing out a piece of legislation. Oh, goody. Oh, goody. Can't wait. But according to Larry Brock, this legislation that he's bringing forward isn't going to do squat. Nothing. Because it's still rooted in ideology and not common sense and not data. So Mark Carney's answer to everybody is, well, we're not really going to be able to do anything. Sorry. That's a lot of comfort to the victims and the families of these victims, Mr. Carney.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Matt Mead with Canadian Press. You told Canadians that you would be elbows up, and they appear to have largely given you a mandate to get a good deal from the president. But thus far, we have not seen that Canada has gotten basically nothing. And Canada also had to give one of its bargaining chips when it comes to the digital services tax, something other countries like the UK did not give up in their deal with the US. How do you still convince Canadians that you are really elbows up?
Well, look, we are in the midst of.
Okay, I'm impressed, ladies and gentlemen. That was from Canadian Press. I'm impressed. That was a snippy question, and it was calling out Mark Carney on the fact that he has yet to deliver on his main focus of his liberal and his federal campaign. I'm the guy. I'm the guy that needs to be there to negotiate with Donald Trump. I know how to do it. Well, you've got nothing, and you've already given away your bargaining chip. A bargaining chip that shouldn't have even been there in the first place, but a bargaining chip nonetheless. You literally gave up a bargaining chip to sit back down at the table and continue discussions. So, gotta hand it to Canadian press for asking a good question. This is what journalists should be doing.
Long now and tough negotiations with the United States. And we're working for the best deal for Canada. We have put in place a series of retaliatory measures, including in the steel sector. We have secured tariff-free access for a number of Canadian goods. In fact, the percentages are very high in terms of outside of the most affected sectors, steel being one of them, autos, aluminum, forest products. The vast majority of Canadian goods and services are tariff-free. That is not the case for most other countries. We will continue to work constructively for a deal, but it has to be a deal that works for Canadians and Canadian workers. And part of the reason why we don't have a deal is that deal is not yet on the table.
I think he's gone to the School of Public Speaking that Chrystia Freeland did. The issue is that he can't land the plane. He will make part of his statement and then realize that he didn't complete that statement, and then his brain says, "Oh, I need to complete the statement," and then goes on to make another statement and then forgets that he didn't complete that statement again. So he keeps going from thought to thought to thought to thought, and he can't land the plane, as we call it. Now, the other thing that's important to note here is that Mark Carney chose to come to Hamilton because Hamilton is known as Steel Town. But he didn't go to Dofasco. He went to another company that doesn't manufacture steel, but they work with steel. I wonder why that is. Maybe because the steel industry and the people who are making our steel are really ticked off at you right now. Because there's already been a whole bunch of job losses in Hamilton as it relates to these tariffs and to the steel sector. So no wonder you didn't want to go to Dofasco. You probably would have been run out of there. So you went to another company that would actually tolerate you. And I don't even think, from what I've heard behind the scenes, I don't think even they were happy to have him there. So this is interesting. But he wanted to be in a company where it looked like there was a bunch of steel around him, so he could make these announcements on steel. But it is there's no confidence when this guy speaks. He tries to use his boardroom language, and it just lands flat.
Hi, Prime Minister. Heather Wright, CTV News. You've said that the purpose of Bill C-5 is in part to speed up approvals for major national projects, and as you know, the bill is now being challenged in court by First Nations. Have your belated consultations jeopardized the goal of getting new projects built?
Well, first, no. First thing is that the bill literally just received, well, in the last few weeks, as you know, received royal assent, so it became law. The bill and the law, as it now is enabling legislation.
Does anybody miss Justin Trudeau in terms of how he speaks? Huh. What was that? What was that? I don't know what that was. It was a mess that came out of his mouth. That's for darn sure. But what did we say? What did we say when C5 actually passed in the House? What we did is we said that this was a strategic move for the Conservatives to get out of the way of the wrecking ball that is the you're in the way and you're obstructing us and you're against building Canada. So they helped strip out all of the problematic parts of C5, and then they got out of the way because they saw this freight train coming down the track. And what was that freight train? Court challenges. Court challenges by Indigenous leaders and communities across the country. That's what's happening. And that's what we said would happen. And we didn't say that happened because we're smart. We said that was happening because this is what was warned in committee by the Indigenous people that were testifying. Problem is that's not what was talked about in the mainstream media. But this is what was happening. So if this is already being challenged in court, how the heck are you going to get any of this stuff done, Mr. Carney? And court challenges for legislation, they don't move quickly. Not at all. So for Carney to say, oh, well, this isn't going to delay anything. Have you been paying attention to government? You think anyone is going to touch this when this is being challenged by Indigenous leaders across the country? You're dreaming, buddy.
The first thing it enables is consultations about what are we actually talking about when we say nation-building projects. And tomorrow, the first part of that engagement, it's not a consultation tomorrow, but the first part of that engagement, in fact, it starts this afternoon in Ottawa with a series of First Nations rights holders, other interested First Nations groups, including the AFN, obviously, is that engagement about the modalities, how this can work, how we work together, what are the priorities. That's before any consultation on any specific project or types of projects. And also before, even if there is a project or when there is projects identified, consultations around the conditions around those projects that must be fulfilled for them to be built, and then moving forward from that.
What a word salad of garbage. So this enables consultations that we're going to have. We're going to have those consultations tomorrow. Well, they're actually not going to start tomorrow. They're not consultations. And it's not going to start tomorrow. It's going to start today. And, it enables us to talk about, what may constitute to be a nation-building project. But we have to decide what one of those is. And when if one gets actually, decided on, when we actually identify. What a joke. What a freaking joke. He's trying to say that Bill C5 enables consultations because you couldn't have consultations with these different groups without Bill C5. That's what he's trying to tell us. That's what he's trying to tell us. Okay, Mark. Nobody believes you. And pretty sure these consultations with these Indigenous leaders are going to be like, why did you ignore what we said in committee? Why did you have to ram this bill through so fast? Because you didn't consult us on this at all. And Carney's, he's still trying to define what a nation-building project is. He's been promising that we're going to be building all these nation-building projects, and he still doesn't know what the criteria for a nation-building project is. Folks, I can't even.
Daniel Dove, Global News. Prime Minister, Global News has an investigation has unveiled that the public safety minister wrote letters before he was the public safety minister on behalf of a man and his immigration status to come to Canada, even though this man was a member of a listed suspected terrorist group. The public safety minister is in charge of border security, obviously very important to any trade deal going forward. What confidence do you have in the public safety minister? With your reaction to this, sir?
Okay. So this is, I believe, the first time Mark Carney has been asked a question about this. Global News has been digging on this. Kudos to Global News and the reporter that was leading the charge on this. So for those that don't know what is going on with this is frickin' ridiculous. Take a look.
Jeff Semple is following this from Toronto tonight. Jeff. Well, Donna, there's been plenty of reaction to our investigation that revealed Canada's newly appointed Public Safety Minister, Gary Anandasangari, had previously written letters of support for a suspected member of a terrorist organization to come here to Canada. Some senior members of the opposition Conservative Party are now calling for his resignation. Before he was Public Safety Minister, as an MP, Anandasangari wrote 2 letters to support immigration claims by a Sri Lankan man named Senthuran Selvakumaran. Selvakumaran previously admitted to Canadian and British officials that he was a former member of the LTTE, also known as the Tamil Tigers. In 2006, the Canadian government designated that militant group a terrorist organization. Now, Selvakumaran later changed his story and claimed he'd lied about working for the militant group after receiving bad legal advice. But Canadian immigration officials didn't buy it.
So, back when he was a member of Parliament, one of his constituents was trying to stay in Canada, was trying to come to Canada, and was denied by CBSA because CBSA says, you're on the bad list, buddy. You belong or used to belong to a listed terrorist organization. You're not coming to Canada. Go away. So in response to this, Gary Anandasangari, who is the current public safety minister, advocates on this guy's behalf to CBSA to bring him into the country. What the heck? This is the type of guy that is in Carney's cabinet. This is unreal. Here's Carney's answer.
Thank you for the question. Look, the public safety minister has been transparent about the details of that situation, and he has my confidence. Thank you.
That's it. The public safety minister has been transparent and has my confidence. I'd like to remind everybody of somebody else that Mark Carney had his confidence in. Remember this?
The Conservative candidate has come out and said that apology is not sufficient, and that previous to this, he was speaking with the RCMP about his safety. So I'm just wondering why you feel comfortable continuing with a candidate that was parroting Chinese Communist Party talking points to try and attack a political candidate.
Look, this is a person of integrity who served this community, his community, as a senior police officer for, as I said, more than a quarter century. He's made a terrible lapse in judgment. He's made an apology for that. It's also an individual who has family in Hong Kong. He's under no illusions about the situation there, the situation in broader China. He's made those apologies. He's made them directly to the individual concerned. He's made them directly to me. He has my confidence.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Paul Chang. Paul Chang, who openly advocated inviting China to kidnap a political opponent that was on the Conservative Party. Full confidence. So Paul Chang has Mark Carney's confidence, and Gary Anandasangari has Mark Carney's confidence. We're starting to get pretty concerned as to what confidence means when it comes to Mark Carney, folks. Seems to have confidence in people that are wanting to bring in terrorists into this country, or wanting other foreign regimes to come in and kidnap our citizens. This is the type of confidence Mark Carney seems to have in people. This is a joke. It is disgraceful. Where's the accountability? Where's the serving Canadians? It's a complete disgrace. And this is the guy that's in charge of this country, folks. This is the guy who's supposed to be keeping Canadians safe, but has confidence in people that seem to want to make it unsafe for Canadians. I hope the swing voters are watching.